But first, switching gears to the latest on coronavirus relief. Some stimulus has gone out to Americans who qualify for those $600 checks. But Democrats have called for more money, and so has President Trump. Joining us to discuss is Doug Flynn, certified financial planner. Doug, it is great to see you. Happy New Year's Day to you here.
Happy New Year, Emma. How are you?
Doing well. Very well. All right. So realistically, every guest we've had on this program has had a different idea about how much money these checks should be and who should qualify them, or if there should be checks at all. So I'll just ask you, Doug, where do you stand on this issue?
Well, the problem with stimulus and checks is that whenever you do that, you're actually borrowing from the future. And the biggest problem that I see, and we actually have 9 months of actual evidence now from the last stimulus, what happened to that money. So rather than speculate, what we know is only 18% of the $4 trillion that we already allocated went to essentials. The rest went to, and they're not bad things, they went to paying down debt, investing, and other things. But if only 18 cents of every dollar is going towards essentials, what are we doing here? We're just adding a whole bunch of debt and borrowing from the future to put about only 18, so about $100 of this $600 is going to end up doing the effect that they want to have. And so my thing is more targeted, specific things that could be done would probably be better. But, once you start giving away free money, people want more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You wonder about what sort of precedent might be set from sending these checks out. But also at this time, as we know, we are in an unprecedented time dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. A lot of people don't even have the opportunity to go to work during this time because their own state governments have shut down these businesses. What about those people? Would those potentially be people who could benefit from this targeted aid, as you suggest?
I think so. I mean, there are people who certainly will benefit. The biggest problem, I think, though, is that if you tied it to more of a work incentive. So as an example, doubling everybody's wages for those who work, that's how you get your stimulus money, up to maybe $25 an hour or something like that. I think you'd have people clamoring to get back to work. I think you'd have people shaking down the state houses to say, I want to go back to work so that I could get this stimulus money, which would double my income for whatever period of time. So those are different ways that you could do it, and you'd have a more of a direct impact. You'd also help small businesses. They'd be able to open safely. It's just interesting to me to see how in certain areas, it's almost like they don't want to have these businesses open when some of them have a lot of evidence that they've handled things very well, and in some cases better than the states themselves. So I think certain people will certainly benefit no matter what you do. But this might also trickle up to a lot more higher earning people than they intended. And that's a concern.
Okay, Doug, I want to tap into now to your financial planner hat. Put that on for me if you don't mind, because when you are getting some money, 600, it's not as much as obviously some people would like to see. The president has said he wants to see 2,000. But, it's something at least. Is there something that you would suggest people doing with that $600 check so they could double it or triple it or really get their use out of it?
Sure. It's interesting when you look at what happened in 2020. A lot of people had opened up investment accounts that had never opened them before. They've been easier to open. A lot of that money is probably the stimulus money. And as people learn how to invest, sometimes they take too great a risk and might mess that up. So it's starting simple. The problem right now is that the market is at an all-time high, which is wonderful. But going in with fresh cash now, you don't want to chase high investments. So you have to see what's going to happen. Normally, we're pretty good at being able to tell what's going to happen in the current year based on the situation on the ground. But in reality, we don't know what's going to happen with Georgia next week. We don't really know how the inauguration is going to play out. So I'm sort of hanging out there and saying, before you put a whole bunch of cash to work at the all-time high, why don't we get a little more clarity on what's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks? And then I think it'll be easier to put that money to work.
All right. Take a breath with Doug Flynn into this new year. That's a good idea. Slow start. Let's ease into it here. Okay. Sounds good. But you know what? Yesterday we talked briefly about the PPP loans as well, and potentially how that could backfire on some certain small businesses when it comes to those taxes and paying everything back. Is that something you're reading about in the second round of stimulus here that some people should be worried about or at least look into?
I think that, yes, I think there are some people that might have taken that money and not done the required things that need to be done. I also know that as it was promised, that money was supposed to be tax-free. And then it was going to be sort of indirectly taxable. Now, I believe they fixed that. They've turned it into tax-free as people expected, what they purported they were going to do. So I think that you're going to have more pluses than minuses here. But like anything else, if you took this money, spent it on things that don't match what you're supposed to do, or if you didn't have as big a drop-off in your sales and the other parameters, this second round, 2.0, is a little bit more liberal on what you can do, giving more people the opportunity to do things. And I like that. I like that it's targeted towards small businesses. Small businesses are about half of the employment in the United States, and I think we really didn't do enough for small business. Even though we did a lot, you're not going to get everybody covered by PPP because they don't have the expenses that would qualify. So there are other things we could have done, but nevertheless, I do like the progression we've had with 2.0 and PPP. I think the program is overall very good.
All right. Hey, you're taking a good look at 2021. Things are hopefully moving in the right direction here. Doug Flynn breaking it down for us here on this New Year's Day. Doug, thanks so much. Happy New Year.
You too. Anytime.